So, in order to understand 2012 and to make sense of these prophecies, what we really need to do is look back to the past, as we've already started, and get a sense of what was the technology of Atlantis, because I want to present to you the possibility that a technology doesn't necessarily involve machines with electrical circuits and gears and moving parts. A pyramid can be a technology. It can be a technology that operates as a machine just by sitting there, and as I said earlier, acting as a funnel for this fluid-like energy that makes all of matter as we know it. Obviously, you have the pyramid here. This is the second pyramid next to the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Sphinx in front. These are the casing stones, what's left of them on the top, which originally, as I said, were mirror-polished, white limestone. We now have an Atlantis-type city that was found under the ocean on the western tip of Cuba. And this was covered in the media briefly, but then the story was squelched. This is the actual side-scan sonar photographs of what was originally discovered. This was two scientists, Paulina Zalitsky and Paul Weinsweig, who had been given a charter by the Cuban government to conduct side-scan sonar readings of the seafloor around Cuba, hoping to find sunken Spanish galleons with gold on them and treasure. And they promised that they would give the Cuban government a share of the profit. So that seems like a pretty good deal. You just give somebody permission to do these readings, and then lo and behold, if they find something, you get to make money. Now, the problem was that what they found was not treasure. It was much more valuable than just gold coins. It was actually pyramids and sphinxes and roads and buildings. Now, a three-dimensional reconstruction of what you see from the top down here has been built. So what you see here is the ruined platforms of giant buildings that are now a half a mile under the ocean. And we know, based on geology, that these structures could not have been above sea level any time earlier than 10,000 years ago. They're at least 10,000 years old, minimum. We know this is true. This should be the smoking gun of Atlantis. There was a contract made with National Geographic. This was also supposed to be released in the summer of 2003, but it got squelched. It never came out in the open, unfortunately. Here's Paulina Zalitsky in front of inscriptions that she found in the caves in Cuba that are very, very similar to what she saw in the Atlantean ruins that she was looking at with a submersible submarine that has a little camera in it. She actually saw inscriptions just like this. Now, these are the descriptions of those energy fields in the solar system. Remember I was telling you the galaxy gives off these rippling waves of energy and they come through the solar system? Well, the Atlanteans knew about that and they were drawing it. And so what you see is planets here with their ripples on it, and then that's the sun. Or that could be the galaxy. We're not really sure. She also found these inscriptions in the caves of Cuba, which would have just been the highland mountains of Atlantis. And these are identical to inscriptions that were found on the stones underneath the water. Now, this is the closest that she's ever come to actually showing us one of the pyramids. This is from actual footage that was taken from her submarine. It's the only picture that has ever been released to the public showing one of her pyramids. You can look at it up close and get a glimpse of what actually is a blunted top. It does not go in a straight line. Well, there is another example of that, and that's the bent pyramid of Dashur in Egypt. And so what we're seeing is very, very similar structure. Now, this is an enormous, enormous pyramid under the ocean in Cuba. So, Anybody that tells you that Atlantis is full of crap, I just gave you photographic proof that it exists. So that argument has been shot. We know for a fact that pyramid could not have been above sea level unless it was at least 10,000 years old. At least. Given that information, what the heck did they know, and why did they build these things everywhere they possibly could?